In this video, we will show you how to replace your rear upper ball joint on this Honda Accord. This is part of your rear suspension located inside of your rear wheel well. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing you need to do is safely raise and support the rear of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground and the suspension is hanging. Continue on to removing all four of your 19mm lug nuts, the hubcap, and the wheel. With the wheel out of the way, we have a clear view of the upper ball joint. Looking along the knuckle, you're going to find that it has a protective cap, and that cap is held in place with a 10mm headed bolt. Remove the bolt and the cap, a quick inspection, and set them aside. Under that area, you're going to find that you have a locking cotter pin and a 17mm nut. Remove the pair. We'll use some cutters for this. When you replace the ball joint, it does come with a new cotter pin. We're not worried about reusing this. If you can't get it out of there, that's okay. Just go ahead and cut off what you can get off. We'll remove that mounting nut and start it back on just a couple threads. Continue on with a hammer, causing vibration in this area. It will break this free. Take hold of the control arm, pull it down, remove that mounting nut. We'll set that aside for recycling. Now we can separate this area. Take hold of the rear control arm. We're going to remove the lower ball joint boot. For this, you can use a small pick. You just want to make your way underneath the locking clip for that and pull it out of place. Be careful not to hurt yourself with this. Remove your boot. Use our pick for that as well if necessary. Just wipe up any of the grease in this area so we have a clear view and a clean working space. Now we'll continue on with the ball joint press and adapters. For the top of the control arm, you want to make sure you have a hollow cup. We're going to be pressing the ball joint up into this area. That'll sit right above the ball joint on the control arm itself. You want to make sure it's not pressing directly against that ball joint. With that rested in position, we'll continue on down along the bottom. You might attempt to try pressing out directly against the stud, but what you'll find is it presses the stud up and out of the ball joint, and then you just need to continue pressing on the ball joint itself. We'll use another adapter down along this area that presses directly up against that ball joint, not necessarily against the stud. Get this on there. Try to have this aligned as close as possible, and now we'll continue applying pressure. While applying pressure, let's pay attention in this area. We'll be watching the ball joint. We want to see that ball joint press up into the cup. Once it does break free, we can remove the tool. There we are. Take hold of the control arm and remove the ball joint. There it is, friend. Clean and inspect your mounting points. We have the area on the control arm. You want to make sure you clean that port and along the top. When we press this down, we want to make sure we have a smooth surface. We'll also pay attention to the knuckle as well, confirm that that's in good working order. It's time to install our brand new rear upper ball joint. Before you install this, remove your protective boot. To remove the boot, we'll be using an angled pick. Just make our way right underneath that area and gently pull it out and away from the boot, being extremely careful not to cause any damage. Should be able to slide the boot off of here. A quick inspection of the boot to confirm that it did not get damaged while we removed it. Now we can remove the clip from the ball joint. Before we go to install the ball joint into the control arm, make sure you have it in the proper orientation so that the slotted area that you can see up near my thumb and my finger down along the bottom there are facing in and out from the vehicle, not front to back, side to side. We'll essentially make sure that we have it so the ball joint can pivot with the direction of the control arm. So as the suspension is raising and lowering, it's going to be able to pivot as necessary. When you go to install the ball joint into the control arm, you want to make sure you press only against the outer portion and never against the center. That will cause damage. Whether you press here on the top or along the bottom stud, you're going to cause damage to that ball joint. Let's get this in position. Make sure we have it facing in the proper direction, side to side essentially. Going with the movement of the control arm there. We'll use an adapter up along the top. As I mentioned, it's only going to be pressing against the outer portion of that ball joint, never against the center. For the bottom, we'll be using an adapter that does have the flat bottom. We want to have something to press against. Let's continue applying pressure to this. While we apply pressure, we'll be watching that ball joint up along the top of the control arm. We need to press it all the way down until it's completely flush up against the control arm itself. Before you remove pressure, give it a quick inspection. Make sure it's completely seated all the way around. Assuming that's good, go ahead and remove your tool. Lubricate the joint with high temperature lubricant. Now we can install that protective boot. Just slide it right up on here. Now you're going to have to hold it in place. We'll be using our metal clip. Just go ahead and start putting it on there and work its way all the way around with a small pick. Be careful not to cause any damage. Start bringing this into position here. We'll be using our pick as I mentioned. There we are. One last quick inspection here. Now let's take hold of the upper control arm and bring that ball joint down inside the steering knuckle. While holding that in place, continue on with your brand new mounting nut. We'll start it on and snug it up. We'll torque that to 32 foot-pounds. Once you have it torqued, the next thing you need to do is put in your locking cotter pin. There should be a hole that goes through the stud of the ball joint. You want to make sure it's aligned with one of the grooves on the ball joint nut. If it's not, continue tightening the nut until the very next slot is. We'll peen that over so there's no way it can loosen up on us while we're driving down the road. Install your protective cover. We'll get this in place and start on our 10mm headed mounted nut. For this, we'll just snug it up. One last quick inspection in this area, and we'll continue on to installing our wheel. When you install your hubcap, you want to look for the valve stem port. Make sure it aligns with the valve stem on your wheel. Now we can start on all 4 of our 19mm lug nuts. We'll bottom them out and get the wheel back on the ground. With the wheel safely back down on the ground, we'll torque these to 80 foot-pounds in a crisscross manner. Torqued. Okay friend, we finished our installation. At this point, you can go ahead and take your vehicle for a road test down to your local alignment shop. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.